All right, let's dive right in. Today, we're talking about the body's living wallpaper, this incredible, vast network of cells that lines, well, pretty much every single surface of your body, both inside and out. These cells are our absolute first line of defense, and as we're about to find out, they hold some really critical clues to our health. Now, before we get into all the nitty-gritty biology, let's talk about why this is so important. I mean, this isn't just some stuff you'd find in a textbook. Understanding these cells is on the front lines of medicine, especially when it comes to diagnosing one of the most feared diseases out there. So let me ask you a question. When a doctor thinks someone might have cancer, where do they even start looking? What's that first crucial clue? The answer is actually surprisingly simple, and it all begins right down at the cellular level. Yep, the investigation almost always kicks off with our epithelial cells. Let's take the esophagus, for example. The most common cancer there? It's called squamous cell carcinoma. And why that name? Well, it's because the esophagus is lined with a type of cell called stratified squamous epithelium. Think about that. The name of the cell literally gives the cancer its name. That is a direct, incredibly powerful connection. Okay, so what exactly is an epithelium? Well, in the simplest terms, it's a sheet of cells that are packed together super, super tightly. And that living wallpaper analogy, it's perfect. It literally covers every surface, creating this vital barrier between you and the outside world, and even between different compartments inside your body. And when I say they're everywhere, I really mean it. They're not just your skin. They line your entire digestive tract, your whole respiratory system, and they even line all those enclosed spaces you never think about, like your blood vessels and the cavities that hold your organs. They're basically the body's ultimate boundary keepers. All right, I know what you're thinking. This probably sounds super complicated, right? But the good news is, scientists have this beautifully simple system for classifying all these different kinds of wallpaper. And it really just boils down to two simple rules. That's it. So here's the secret. You just have to ask two questions. How many layers are there and what's the shape of the cells? Layers and shape. That is the entire blueprint. So first up, let's talk layers. Okay, for step one, counting layers, you've only got two choices. If it's just a single layer of cells, we call it simple. If you've got multiple layers stacked on top of each other, that's stratified. So simple equals one, stratified equals many. Pretty easy, right? And now for step two, the shape. Again, super straightforward. There are just three basic forms. You've got squamous cells, which are flat, kind of like fish scales. Then there are cuboidal cells. You guessed it, they're square, like little cubes. And finally, columnar cells, which are tall and rectangular, just like columns. So you just stick a layer name and a shape name together, and boom, you can identify pretty much any epithelium in the body. All right, let's meet the first family, the simple epithelia, the single-layered ones. Now, you might think that being only one cell thick is a weakness, right? But it's actually their greatest strength. It's what makes them perfectly designed for their main job, rapid exchange. And kicking things off is simple squamous. The source material describes it as, and I'm quoting here, the thinnest sort of epithelium. It's literally the thinnest you can get. And that thinness, that's its superpower. I mean, think about it. Where in your body would you want the absolute thinnest barrier possible? Well, anywhere things need to pass through really, really fast. And that's exactly why you find these super flat cells in the air sacs of your lungs for lightning-fast gas exchange and lining your blood vessels, so nutrients and waste can move in and out in a flash. Okay, now let's check out the simple columnar cells. These tall guys are total specialists. In your small intestine, their surface is covered with something called microvilli. And the best way to picture it is like a super dense shag carpet. It massively increases the surface area for absorbing nutrients. Then, in the fallopian tubes, they have cilia, which are like these tiny synchronized oars that literally row the egg cell along towards the uterus. It's a perfect example of form-following function. Okay, so let's switch gears and meet the other side of the family. The stratified crew, the multi-layered ones. And if the simple family was all about exchange, the stratified family is all about one thing, and one thing only, protection. These are the body's heavy-duty bodyguards. The main player here is stratified squamous, and it comes in two awesome models. First, you've got the keratinized version. That's your skin. Its top layers are actually dead and packed with this super tough, waterproof protein called keratin. Then you've got the non-keratinized model. You find that in moist places, like your mouth and esophagus, where all the cell layers stay alive to keep things from drying out. So even though they're a little different, their core mission is exactly the same: to be a tough, multi-layered shield that can handle a lot of wear and tear. Seriously, every time you swallow food or even just brush your skin against something, it's these cells that are taking the hit so the rest of you doesn't have to. But there is one more type we have to talk about. This one is the real specialist of the group. It's kind of a rule breaker found in only one place in the entire body where it does something absolutely unique. It's a shapeshifter. We're talking about transitional epithelium, and you will only find it lining your bladder and the tubes connected to it. Its whole reason for being, its one single mission, is to stretch and then recoil, all without tearing. So picture this. When your bladder is empty and totally relaxed, the cells on the surface are all plump and cuboidal shaped, stacked up a few layers deep. Honestly, they look pretty normal. Nothing special. But then, as the bladder starts to fill up, something incredible happens. Those cells stretch out, they completely change their shape, and they flatten to become thin and almost squamous-like. It's this amazing transformation that lets the bladder expand so much, all while keeping a perfect leak-proof seal. Just think about that. This one single, highly specialized type of cell is what makes our urinary system so flexible. It doesn't just stretch to hold more volume. It also protects all the tissues underneath from the harsh, toxic stuff that can be in urine. It is a genuine biological marvel. So as you can see, these are so much more than just simple linings, right? From the super delicate single-cell layers in our lungs that let us breathe, to the tough-as-nails multi-layered shield that is our skin, these epithelial cells are the absolute unsung heroes of the body. They're just fundamental to our health and survival. And that really leaves us with one final thought to chew on. If these cells are the literal front line, the barrier between our inner bodies and the entire outside world, doesn't that make you think about what we expose them to every single day? You know, the food we eat, the air we breathe, the things we touch. It's a pretty important question. Thanks for tuning in.